A well-functioning, productive board can be a major game changer for a nonprofit. And it can also be one of the biggest pain points, trying to figure out who should be on the board, what role should they play, how can we maximize and make them the most effective as possible. And so I'm really excited today to talk through the marketing side of your board specifically. How can you utilize your board for marketing? How can you help create a marketing plan? All of the things around marketing and your board. So I have guest Sabrina Walker Hernandez on today to share with you ways to kind of go from start to finish with creating marketing tasks, marketing reporting. Who do you bring onto your board? How do you pull all of that together so you don't have to do it all by yourself, but you're also not tasking your board members to do all of the things. So I really think you're going to enjoy this conversation that we have. Sabrina is a certified consultant, coach, facilitator, and best-selling author that helps nonprofits and small businesses build relationships that increase revenue. She has over 25 years of experience in nonprofit management, fundraising, and leadership. Among Sabrina's successes is that she increased operation revenue from $750,000 to $2.5 million and completed a $12 million comprehensive capital campaign in the third poorest county in the United States. She has facilitated numerous workshops with hundreds of nonprofit and business professionals. Sabrina is certified in nonprofit management by Harvard Business School. She is an active community leader and volunteer in Edinburgh, Texas, where she is based. She has some very tactical and actionable things to share with you today on how to really use your board in marketing and why marketing and fundraising are so critical and critically aligned. So take a listen to this episode. Let me know what you think. I'm really excited because we haven't really talked about board management in regards to marketing on this podcast before. So if you want more of this kind of topic, please let me know. But before we get into it, this episode is brought to you by the Online Fundraising Virtual Summit. It all kicks off in a matter of weeks, October 24th through the 28th. And I'm so grateful to Do Good Better Consulting and the Nonprofit Bootcamp for helping me bring this to you. During this week, we are going to have 20 plus speakers sharing with you their expertise on how to build, grow, and expand your monthly donor program. How can you start having a strong, thriving, recurring donor program that then allows you to turn those donors into major givers and major donors? So it all goes down October 24th through the 28th. So head on over to onlinefundraisingsummit.com to grab your free ticket today. See you there. Let's get into the episode. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern, and each week I bring you tips from myself and other experts, as well as hot seats with small business owners and entrepreneurs to demystify digital marketing and get you on your way to generating more leads and growing your business. Hey everybody, please join me in welcoming Sabrina Walker Hernandez to the podcast. Sabrina, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait for this conversation.
Well, and we haven't actually had board member conversations as it relates to marketing on this podcast yet. And we're like 170 episodes in. So this is super exciting for me because you are all things board and a board magician.
Yes, I am. And I think that, I have this little foundation, like a pyramid that I use for nonprofit. And the base of that is board. And then the sides are marketing and fundraising. And when you have all three of those components, you'll have a thriving nonprofit. But a lot of people don't spend a lot of time on the marketing. And it's so critical to have a brand that people trust. Because if you have a brand that people trust, it will make fundraising so much easier. And we know that fundraising is one of those things that you say to a board and they get the shivers. And so if they understand, right? If they understand, let's invest in marketing. It will make the fundraising easier. I think that will be well worth the investment. And a lot of times what happens is nonprofits just don't invest in marketing.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like the whole shift in the for-profit space of the sales and marketing teams working together. think that shift needs to happen as well in the nonprofit space of fundraisers and marketing professionals working more closely
Yes.
together. Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that. We're on the same page
It's
there.
so true. Yep. Yeah, and it's about finance, and I tell nonprofits to be smart. When I ran my nonprofit, every grant, because we get grants, but every grant that I wrote, I put marketing materials in there specific to that program. So they say, well, it's a program grant, so I can't put marketing dollars in there. Well, yes, you can. So, for example, I ran a youth organization, and we got grants for mentoring, let's say. And so, in order to mentor, you have to recruit mentees, you have to recruit mentors, you have to do all of those things. So, you need to put money in there for recruitment. And as a
Yeah.
part of that recruitment, is going to be some marketing collateral. And so, for every grant that I did, I always put in there some marketing collateral.
That's a good hot tip right there.
Yep. It is. And just get your board. I always say get your board on board with marketing. And I think to get them on board, sometimes, I always say it's always great to have one marketing board person, like one person that is in marketing for on your board of directors, whether that is marketing for, for me, it was marketing for our local electric company. But there are every corporation, every entity has a marketing person or a marketing department. And ask yourself, who are you targeting within that corporation? Whether it's a car dealership, whether it's a hospital system, whether it's an electric company, whether it's a bank, all of those corporations, and let's not forget, you're running a business, and all of those businesses have a marketing person. And so, as a nonprofit, you are a business and you need a marketing person. So, recruit for your board someone from those marketing departments.
I love that, and I guess let's kind of dive deeper into that conversation. And like, yes, it's always great to have a marketing person on your board for sure, right? Just like you want to have somebody in legal, somebody in finance, right? Like that's part of a robust board. So once you kind of have that key person, how do you kind of go about creating your marketing committee within your board? Like, what kinds of things might people want to think about? Because the other side that I see is everybody has marketing ideas and everybody brings them to the table and everybody wants their market. I've got the next big thing and we can do this. And it can kind of get overwhelming in figuring out what to do, what not to do, how to continue to move forward. So how do you kind of craft that marketing committee that can really be the voice for your team and your organization?
Well, I say in crafting a marketing committee, this is what I like to do. And this is my approach. Does not mean that it's right. It's just one approach. And so I've served as CEO of my organization. I've served on several boards, and particularly a startup board. And the way that I approach marketing is, again, have someone from marketing on your board, right? But when it comes time to marketing execution or developing a marketing plan so that you're not all over the place, what I like to use is a good old marketing task force. And so with the good old marketing task force is your marketing person from your board is the, chair or a part of that task force, but they help you identify other marketing personnel in the community that can come together for a task force. And we know that as a task force means it's temporary. And busy people like temporary. And so with that marketing task force, you bring them in and it's a minimum of 4 to 5 meetings, right? And you go through that process of brainstorming with them, that process of coming up with the goals and some of the strategies. And you draft up at the end of that task force, the whole goal is to have a marketing plan that task force looks at and finalizes and makes a recommendation to the board. I love a good old marketing task force because I usually get the people on that task force who I would love to have on my board, right? But maybe they don't quite know my organization well enough, or
Yeah.
perhaps they are too busy themselves. And so I use that task force as cultivation for a pipeline for next board members, or I also use it as a cultivation for a pipeline to receive donations for your next event or donations for your next endeavor, because you're asking them on the task force for their time and their talent. And so imagine you're on that task force. Okay, so let's review the mission. This is what our mission is. This is what our vision is. This is where we're trying to go. You're educating them about your organization as a part of that task force. You're introducing them to your organization. So even if they are not going to serve on the board, or you put them on the list, but you are starting that relationship with them again, so that when you do have an event or you do have something that you're looking for sponsorships for, it's not a cold call
Yeah.
because they've served on your task force. So that's how
There's
I like to approach it.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say there's so many things in there that you said that I think are just blowing my mind right now, which makes complete sense. And opportunity there because I'm thinking if I'm saying, okay, I don't have time to be on the board, but I have marketing experience to lend. I love this cause. I'm going to be on this task force. I think I maybe will be much more likely to join that board or become a more active volunteer because now I know you've got a plan in place. Like you're not just like throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Like you're consciously thinking about your marketing activities and how it's going to get you from A to B, which, to your point, most nonprofits don't invest in marketing. So there's also that piece of then security, knowing, oh my gosh, these people are being responsible with their dollars. They're thinking thoughtfully about longevity and sustainability.
Yes, and it just lends so much to that cultivation process, to that process of building relationships and lending, sustainability. I if my wholehearted recommendation is to have a standing marketing committee, but the way to go is to have a task force. When you don't have a plan in place at all, have a task force to get that plan in place. And then your board can approve that. And then you can have a committee that makes sure that it gets executed.
Well, and then how much easier is it for you to then, at that point, recruit the correct board members to help fill some roles or hire the correct staff to fill those goals? And then also when people come to you and say, oh, we should try this new thing, or we should do this, or I just heard this is really working, you can come back to them and say, well, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's put it on the list for the second half of the year, or it doesn't fit into the objectives we're doing right now. Like then it makes all of those conversations so much easier because they're attached to kind of a path forward.
They're attached to a path forward. They're attached to a plan. And so you can always, like you said, that wayward board member that comes on, you can say, yeah, that is great. It just doesn't align with the plan right now. And here's a copy of that plan. And also having the marketing chair be able to report status at the board meeting.
Yeah.
Here's where we're at with it, and that keeps everything online and on track and gives people a purpose, because there's nothing worse than serving on a board and coming back and talking about the same things over and over again. You feel like you're just wasting your time. But when you have that plan and you've converted it into a one-sheeter and you're the marketing chair and you can go through that and say, this is what we've accomplished this month with this plan, and this is where we're at, or this is where I need your help, Susan, as a board member, to get this executed. It's just a better conversation and you just feel more productive.
I love that. And we want to set our board members up for success because that's how we retain them and that's how we get the best out of them when they feel like they, can provide value and that value is showing positive impact on the organization.
Yeah, I think that's the quickest way you can lose a good board member is just not be structured and not have not have a flow and an agenda to your meeting, and not have the topics that's going to be discussed and all those things, including marketing. Most people that you want on your board are probably type A personalities, right? And
Right.
I'm a type A personality, and what I value the
Feeling it.
most is efficiency. I value efficiency. So to have a marketing plan, to have, to really come to a meeting and have it be productive, you're going to engage your board more. And
Yeah.
that's what most people want, board engagement.
So okay, if we're going to put this task force together, because maybe we haven't really thoughtfully put together anything in our marketing, like how many people is kind of that sweet spot? Because you don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, but you want to make sure you have a good, amount of ideas. So kind of what's that sweet spot there?
The sweet spot is 5, is what I've discovered. I like to have about 5 people on the task force. And then the other formula number that I like to have is 4 meetings. Five members, 4 meetings to get the plan together. And really using the tools like Doodle to align everybody's schedule, so they can vote on what day and have that consistent meeting on this time, the third Wednesday of whatever it is. Of course, you ask that task force, do you want to meet consecutively, or do you want to meet, once a month? Give them that option to see how, that what works best for them. But 4 meetings is what I found to be the sweet spot, and 5 members. It's good because even if 1 member can't join that particular day, you still have 4. And if 2 can't join, you still have 3. And it's a great work. It's a great way to move forward. You don't have to have all 5 on the call at one time. And the other thing that I like since the pandemic too, this is something that can be done via Zoom. People appreciate it. They don't have to leave their office. They don't have to get in a car and drive to a meeting. It could very well facilitate the process via Zoom. We meet 4 times via Zoom. You prepare the agenda, send it out in advance. I can't stress that enough.
Yes.
Prepare the agenda, send it out in advance, and be efficient with people's time, and they will be very appreciative of that whole process. And when they think of your organization, they would think of professionalism. And that's what you want. You want them to think that, you want to be professional, but you also want them to think that you're professional.
Yeah, I know when I started my first nonprofit right out of college, I was very fortunate to work with a seasoned graphic designer to create all my stuff, because she just helped me pull everything together. And I felt the same way, like whether you're just a startup or whatnot, act as if you are a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization that has everything pulled together. It doesn't mean you won't make mistakes, but yes, you add that just trust immediately when you don't just say, well, we're new, so we can't do this, we can't do that. You can do all of those things. That professionalism piece, the agenda, setting meetings correctly, it doesn't cost you money. It just, takes a little bit extra effort to make sure you're doing all those things. So I love that you said that. And I also love the form. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying people time matter, and you want to be time is money, and people time matter, and you want to make sure that you're using their time in the best way possible.
Yeah, and I think that's why the 4 meetings is so great, because, especially with marketing, we can sit and have fun and brainstorm and talk all the things for months and months and months. Like, that's fun stuff. But you want to get down to the execution and actually making a difference in the organization. And I also love the Zoom piece also because you can record it, you can have transcripts to review later. Like, it gives you so much more flexibility to kind of go back and say, okay, well, somebody said something at that last meeting. I want to go back and review that because I kind of forgot to take that note, right?
Yep. It's just a win-win. And if I have to find a silver lining in the pandemic anywhere, it has been this ability to connect via Zoom and via, these platforms. It's made people's ability to engage in nonprofit easier, I think. And we just need to see that as a advantage and take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah. So we've got the task force done. We've come up with our marketing plan. Like you said, our marketing person chair is there reporting on all the amazing things that we're executing on. Things are moving smoothly. As we kind of build our marketing committee for our board, if it's not full of marketing people, are there other kind of skill set things that we might want to think about when it comes to asking particular people to be on the marketing committee that you think kind of stand out? That might just be things we would want to include, like in the job description or the board description for kind of that role.
Yeah, I think that so then it becomes about executing the plan, right? And that's when you get very tactical. And what I found to be successful in getting some of these things done is really twofolds. One is once you get that task force involved, right? Sometimes they will lend their tools that they have to execution. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if they have a videographer, they will lend that tool to your organization to get some of those things accomplished. If they One of the most successful things that came out of a task force for me was being able to be in a commercial. And this is how it went. Um, Remember, I said we had someone from the electric company, and you would think,
Yeah.
okay, what does electric company has to do with the nonprofit? Well, they were actually happened to be our electric provider, and so during this task force, we pitched the idea like, you guys, you do commercials all the time. And so, have you ever thought about spotlighting, local businesses that you power, right? And so that turned into this whole series of them coming onto our nonprofit, recording the commercial with our logo in the background, taking footage of our building and saying, that this electric company powers youth development in our community. Not only did they do that with our nonprofit, they also did that with local businesses. So it turned into this whole series of commercials that we did not have to pay for as a nonprofit. That is one. And so getting those people involved and planting those seeds and having those ideas, then they can lend their resources to you. And it could turn into something that's far beyond what you ever thought it could be. Two,
That's so
in the
cool.
yeah, it was really cool. Two, in the execution is if you are able and you have a college in your backyard or near you, connecting with the marketing and or graphics, the communication department, all of those departments, and speaking with those professors is going to be another way that you can get things designed and done for you, because that was one of my greatest partnerships, was with the university. And it wasn't with, when you say university, it sounds like, oh man, you had to go through all this bureaucracy to get to. No, it was reaching out to that professor and saying, we just developed this marketing plan and it has a lot of design elements in it, and we don't have the bandwidth for that. Would you consider it being a class project? They have a whole class. And so what they did, this particular professor, she assigned 4 students per graphic project. So one of the things that came out of our plan was we had buses for transportation and vans for transportation for kids, but they weren't wrapped. So they
Mm,
designed the wraps for the buses. They designed, our pop-up banners for this and all, and they made it into a competition actually. And so they had to pitch
cool.
it to me as the CEO, and then I got to pick which one, I liked. Now, that's one way if you have a university. you cannot do everything yourself as a CEO or a founder of an organization. You do have to reach out for collaborations and partnerships. So now I have the marketing task force who's developed the plan. I'm working with certain members of corporation to make some of those things happen. I'm working with the local university to get graphic designs and make some of those things happen. And then you still have to pay to get it wrapped or pay to get it, pop,
Yeah.
do all those things, right? There's still going to be some cost, but there is still potential opportunity for partnership. And I will say, yes, as a nonprofit, you do have to pay for some things. You do. I don't like that scarcity mentality that we have in the nonprofit community. You do. You're a business and you have to pay for some things. But there's also something to be said for leveraging the fact that you are a nonprofit and partnering with people. And so, for example, I take that van wrapping and bus wrapping circumstance. When we did the wrapping, what we did was it was a sponsorship opportunity. So you go back to the members of that task force and you say,
Yeah.
we've executed this. We're ready. We got the design. Here's design. Wouldn't it be awesome to have a mobile billboard around the community that has your logo on the back of the vehicle? And you shop that around, but it's not a cold call, right? And so if you have four vehicles in a blessed world, we have four vehicles, and I realized that we were blessed. Even if you got one sponsor, that's still going to save you some money, right? And so that's
Mhm.
how it's a series. It's not an overnight process. It is a series of laying brick by brick by brick. And that's what marketing is.
Well, I think there's a lesson here too for just all committees and teams that you have on your board, because you work with people, the board puts in all this time and effort, or the task force, to give you the ideas to come up with the plan. And then I think so often the plan doesn't get executed. So just kind of like putting a nice bow on everything that you said here is like, you've worked with this team, you've made this plan, then you execute on the plan with with the talent that you have and the people that you can recruit now to fit that specific need. And then you have a reason to go back to these players to say, hey, yeah, we need something from you, but look at what we're doing. Like, you put this plan together with us and look at what we've already done. You're showing them that you have the dedication, the drive, and the, you know, mental capacity, not mental capacity, but like, you are putting it together. You're putting the plan in place. You're executing. So like, that whole conversation becomes so much easier. You're not then going back to those same people 6 months later and being like, well, we didn't do anything that we took your time. We didn't do any of that, but now we need money for this. So could you help us with this instead? Like, that's a very different conversation.
It's a very different conversation, and they're already bought into it. They were there from the beginning. They understand what you're trying to do. They see action. They see momentum. And what I do know is people will follow success, and they see
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, I love that. Well, so many amazing things that you've already shared in this episode. But if there was kind of one last takeaway that you would like to share with either board presidents or founders or leaders of nonprofit organizations as they kind of think about marketing in their organization, kind of what would you say to them?
I would say to them that marketing is one of the cornerstones to fundraising, and it's something that should not be overlooked. If you are trying to raise money, you need to invest in marketing.
Yeah, well said. And I agree 100%. Well, Sabrina, if people want to learn more about you and how you support nonprofits and how they can learn more from you, how do they do that?
Well, they always say do one call to action because people get overwhelmed. So my one call to action is visit my website, which is www.supportingworldhope.com.
I love it. Short and sweet. Well, and we will link all of that up in the show notes, as well as some of the resources that Sabrina talked about today. You can check those out at thefirstclick.net/172. Sabrina, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
I can't thank Sabrina enough for coming and sharing her words of wisdom with you all. It was such an amazing episode. I love the idea of a task force and how that might be able to be a strategy that you employ with some of the other areas of your board management. And what a great, fun, and easy way to recruit new board members across the board. So, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and got a lot of key takeaways. You can check out the show notes, like I mentioned, at thefirstclick.net/172. But for now, I hope you'll subscribe wherever you listen so that you don't miss out on a single episode. Make sure you leave us that 5-star review so that more nonprofits can see this amazing podcast and learn and grow in their world as well. And if you want to catch video versions of this, you can go to thefirstclick.net/YouTube. I'll see you in the next one.